The remarkable appearance of Soviet-designed MiG-15 jet fighters in the skies over North Korea marked a pivotal moment in the Korean War in November of 1950. These MiG-15s, strategically positioned just across the Yalu River within Chinese territory, could swiftly enter North Korean airspace, presenting a formidable challenge to UN forces. What followed were some of the fiercest and most intense air battles of the conflict, as U.S. Air Force pilots clashed with Soviet-piloted MiG-15s in dramatic dogfights. The northwestern region of North Korea, bordering China along the Yalu River, would soon become infamous, earning the name Mig Alley, a region that would see air combat reach unprecedented levels of intensity over the next 2.5 years. It is November 1, 1950. In the early morning hours, several MiG-15 flights from the 72nd and 28th Guards Fighter Aviation Regiment (GIAP) took to the skies to patrol the border with North Korea. For the first time, the MiG pilots, equipped with external fuel tanks, were authorized to cross the Yalu River into North Korean airspace. Their mission, to conduct free hunts in search of U.S. aircraft, marking a bold escalation in the air war. Pilots of the 28th GIAP were the first to encounter the U.S. Air Force. In the vicinity of Namsi-dong, 6 MiG-15s bearing Chinese markings spotted and attacked 4 F-51s, but with a sharp maneuver the Mustangs evaded the attack and departed the area at treetop level. In essence, there was no combat. The first combat occurred after lunch at 1350, when 5 MiGs under the command of hero of the Soviet Union Major N.V. Stroikov, the commander of the 1st Squadron, were patrolling the Anong area. Captain I. Guts's lead element spotted 3 F-51s. Attacking from above, they opened fire on the U.S. aircraft formation. Apparently damaged, one of the Mustangs broke formation and began to flee in a dive. The remaining pair of Mustangs went into a left-hand turn, but upon leveling out they were jumped by a different pair of MiGs, and in this attack Lieutenant Fedor Chist succeeded in downing one of the F-51s from short range. Thus the Soviet pilots opened the scoring in this war, having shot down the first USAF aircraft in the skies of North Korea. The downed F-51 was from the 35th FBG's 39th Squadron. Its pilot was killed. Some reported that the pilot was First Lieutenant Aaron Richard Abercrombie. But USAF records state that no Mustangs were lost. DPA's record shows that First Lieutenant Aaron Richard Abercrombie was on temporary duty with the 6,132nd Aircraft Control and Warning Squadron on November 1, 1950. He was one of 3 U.S. soldiers killed in the ambush south of Chosin Reservoir. F-51s in the 1st Corps area jumped by 6 jet fighters believed MiG-15 type. No F-51s lost. MiGs in turn jumped by F-80s. No report of results yet. On this same day around 14:15, for MiG-15s led by the 72nd GIAP's 2nd Squadron Commander Major A.Z. Borden took off on a combat assignment for the Antung area. Major A.Z. Borden, Senior Lieutenant A.I. Sukhov, and Lieutenants S.F. Kamenik and D. Ezianin were piloting the MiGs on this mission. Having patrolled above Anong for 25 minutes and without having encountered any enemy aircraft, the flight received the order to return to the base in Anshan. Lieutenant Ezianin had already been forced to return, since his MiG had no external fuel tanks and was running low on fuel. However, less than 3 minutes later, they received orders sending them back to Antung to repulse a USAF airstrike that had just been reported by ground troops. At the same time, 12 F-80s attacked the airfield at Sinuiju on the southern bank of the Yalu. Shortly after noon, an 8th Tactical Reconnaissance Squadron RF-80 radioed that he had spotted 15 Yak-9 PS on the Sinuiju airfield, and in response General Stratemeyer ordered the 49th Wing to strike the airfield. These F-80s destroyed 1 Yak and damaged 6. 16 additional F-80s were being dispatched later. As MiGs were turning back, Lieutenant Kamenik saw 10 F-80 jets below them, flying in column formation. 4 F-80s were in the lead, followed by 2 F-80s at an interval of 500 to 800 meters, with the other 4 F-80s bringing up the rear at the same interval. Receiving the permission to attack from the leader, Lieutenant Komenik alone attacked the leading foursome of shooting stars and shot down one of them from short range, before climbing steeply away. The trailing 4 F-80s attempted to attack him, but their formation was jumped by Borden's element in turn. Breaking off its attack, the F-80 flight fled the area. Soviet pilots believe that one F-80 was destroyed. For his victory, Guards Lieutenant Seaman Fedorovich Komenik was awarded the Order of the Red Banner. U.S. Air Force stated that they lost one F-80C shooting star, tail number 49593, to anti-aircraft fire, some of it believed to have come from Antung across the border in Manchuria. The pilot, Major Frank Lewis Van Sickle Jr. from the 16th Fighter Interceptor Squadron, 51st Fighter Interceptor Group, was reportedly missing. On that same day, also in the vicinity of Sinuiju, Yak fighters of a reconstituted North Korean air arm attacked a B-26 and a T-6 but failed to down either. The B-26 crew claimed one Yak, and 2 F-51 pilots from the 67th Squadron shot down the other 2 enemy aircraft, scoring the first aerial victories since July. Captain Alma R. Flake and Captain Robert D. Thresher were credited with shooting down these 2 North Korean planes.
At a distance of about 600 feet, I pulled the trigger and the Yak immediately began trailing smoke. A few seconds later the pilot leveled off and bailed out. He had a good shoot and probably survived. The Yak spiraled down and crashed. My impression was that these pilots were quite inexperienced and unskilled. I added throttle and waited him out. I was still in my turn when he tried to pull out and I snapped off a couple of bursts. A long blue plume of smoke began to trail from his wing and he wobbled and fell off. He slowly rolled over and went into a long dive and crashed. On the way home, it was rewarding to know that after almost 6 years I still knew how to fight.
Initially, in the face of the pilot reports of sighting MiG-15s, FEAF intelligence believed that the Soviets might be field testing the jets, but considered it more likely they were being flown by Chinese or North Koreans, and that only a limited number were available. In reality, November 1st had marked the first combat for what was actually a substantial Soviet air presence. The initial air battles over Korea revealed significant challenges for Soviet pilots. One of the primary obstacles was the distance between Soviet air bases and the area of operations, limiting the time Soviet pilots could spend searching for and engaging enemy targets. As a result, these first encounters were often brief. Compounding the issue, the division's supply of external fuel tanks was limited, as production was concentrated in the Soviet Maritime District. This scarcity forced pilots to conduct missions in smaller groups, and not always with the benefit of additional fuel reserves. Beyond logistical concerns, a psychological burden weighed heavily on the Soviet airmen. They had never faced American pilots in combat and were unfamiliar with their tactics, mindset, and skill. The fact that the Americans had been their allies during World War II further complicated the pilots' resolve. This shift from ally to adversary created an emotional barrier for many. Moreover, the Soviet pilots had little first-hand knowledge of the tactical and technical capabilities of American aircraft. Much of what they knew came from hearsay. It was only in the heat of battle that they would truly discover how these machines performed and how they would fare in direct confrontation. That concludes the first episode of our Mig Alley series. More episodes will be coming soon. If you enjoyed the content, please like, subscribe, and leave a comment to help support us in creating more high-quality videos. Thank you for watching.